Okay, guys, I want you to imagine that I've had absolutely all of my social skills that I've built up over the last 21 years completely wiped. And I'm right back to my 20-year-old self that is socially inept. How would I go about building my skills up really fast? Now, I have done this before, after all. I was once a 20-year-old rookie and did build up my skills, but the dating landscape has changed. So I've had a really deep think about what I would do to get those skills back fast. And I think the steps that I would take are going to surprise the heck out of you. There's no games, there's no BS, there's none of this pickup artistry stuff. This is just raw, gritty things that I would do to hack my way to the top as fast as possible and get dates and women and start living the good life again. So the first thing that I would do is really different. You're not going to expect it. And I hadn't been expecting to put this in a video until I really started to think about it. And I'm like, oh yeah, of course. It is so important to me that I could do this step that if you told me, Damien, you can try to get better with women, but you can't do this one, I'd say, I'm not going to bother trying. That's how important it is to me, but you won't expect it. So what I'd do is I'd get a little notebook and I'd put it next to my bed. And every single night before I went to bed, I would write in that notebook, how can I get really amazing results with women? Question mark. And I would write exactly the same question every single night. And this sounds a little wonky. It sounds a little woo-woo crazy, but there's nothing woo-woo about it. I promise. Let me explain. So I have really poor motivational skills. Like I'm not good at making myself go and do things. I'm very ADD in that way. And any of you who are ADD will notice that if you try to push yourself to do something, it's really hard. It's really hard if you like to push yourself to start approaching women, to push yourself to be consistent and persistent with something that's difficult is really hard to do. But I bet there have been things like, for example, video games where you felt pulled. You kind of feel pulled along and you can't help but be persistent and you can't help but work really hard because one is you trying to push yourself. The other one is something pulling you along. And I found that writing that question, it speaks to your self-conscious, to your subconscious. That's why you do it. You're actually asking yourself a question and then forgetting about it and going to sleep. But your subconscious, it doesn't forget. And I find that when I do this after a few days, I suddenly start to get randomly curious or randomly motivated to start taking steps. It's not like I have to push myself against the grain the whole time. I start to feel pulled along by this invisible force, which is of course my subconscious. And so I start to ask more questions, research more, take more steps, join more communities. I'm also more aware more of the time. If someone mentions something that might be useful, I'm more aware, hey, I could apply that to my question that I have about how to get better with women. It's a really interesting thing. My whole world changes to try to conspire to help me find a really good answer to that question. So that's very big first step. I've done it with everything. I've done it with weight loss, with building muscle and go to gym, meeting women, building a business. I'm doing it literally right now. I'm trying to make this massive change within my business life. And I'm doing exactly the same thing. There's a notebook right next to my bed. If you don't believe in it, just try it. Literally just get a little notebook and try it for a week. I promise you after that week, you'll feel more motivated. You'll take more steps without having to, mentally push yourself. Give it a try because it's a really big one. By the way, guys, I know a lot of you have been enjoying my content. And if you do, a thumbs up and a subscription would help me so very much because I know most of you guys who watch my stuff on the regular are not subscribing. Every single one of you subscribes helps me build this channel that much better. The second thing I do is I would grab myself a copy of a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Now, I know a lot of you guys have probably read this book sometime in the past. It's been around for a while. It was written in 1936. It is the book that I would get to learn how to meet people, to learn how to be likable quickly, right? It's not a dating book in itself. It's just about how to connect and be liked and be likable. This is a massive skill, and I'm going to explain what I'm going to do with this information shortly, but I would take very extensive notes and make sure that I had a copy of those notes in my phone ready anytime that I needed them. So here's the third thing that I would do. And this is kind of the point where I know many guys would try to start approaching women to learn social skills because you need to develop really keen social skills to meet women. And this was the biggest mistake that I made when I was learning this stuff that slowed me down dramatically. And it's one of the things that I know 90% of you guys do that slow your progress down dramatically. If you are learning to attract women, 90% of what you're using are social skills. 10% are skills that are limited or unique to dating. So if you are limiting your experience, your practice time, learning that 90% social skills to women, which is what most guys do when they're learning this stuff, you suddenly start to come against a huge number of obstacles. Think about this. If you, first of all, how many nights a week in your city is it good for going out and approaching women? Second thing, how many nights a week can you get friends to go out with you? How many approaches can you push yourself to do on women before you burn out and get like the approach anxiety takes you over? Can you do any? Right? That's a big obstacle for a lot of guys, those initial approaches. When you do approaches, how many of them instantly reject you and try to get rid of you so you don't actually get a chance to practice those social skills? You can see where I'm going, right? If you can get out, let's say once a week, you can get friends out and you can do 10 approaches in one night, a lot of guys will find themselves only having 2 or 3 proper conversations. So every week you have 2 or 3 conversations where you get to practice those how to win friends and influence people skills. However, if instead you do what I tell myself to do now if I could start again, which is this, I would go out and I would find a whole bunch of social groups to be a part of. Those can be hobby groups, groups around hobbies, playing pool, bushwalking, playing tennis, all kinds of sports, all kinds of hobbies like drone flying, photography, surfing, whatever it is. Find some groups. There could be business networking groups, right? Any groups that you can find, property groups, property investment groups, groups of people coming together to meet, to discuss, or have a talk on a topic. I would go to those. In fact, I would be aiming to go to 3 or 4 nights a week to this kind of a social networking event. And I would be really practicing everything that I'd learned in how to win friends and influence people. Because what I'm trying to do is really, I want to get to the point where I can go to a room full of people I haven't met before, start a whole bunch of conversations with these people and connect, be likable, click, have a nice enough chat where we're smiling and laughing and people like to be around me. And I can enjoy the conversations with the strangers too, to the point where it's so normal to start a conversation with someone I've never met before. And after a few minutes, kind of be in the zone with them. And here's why that strategy is so much better than the mistake I made and what so many guys do. Every night you go out to one of these social things, you can easily meet 20 new people. 20 new people you can have conversations with, where you can practice those how to win friends and influence people, the likability social skills with them 20 times in the night. And if you're out 3 to 4 nights a week, which is not hard to do, that's 60 to 80 new conversations you're having every single week. That is considerably better than the 3 you would have with women. The average guy is going to have with women if he goes out 1 night a week. That's a lot. That's 20 to 30 times better, more results, faster results that you're going to get practicing the 90% of those social skills. Now, it's sort of at this point that I know some of you are going to put your hand up and say, well, whoa, Damien, I'm an introvert. Don't tell me to go out 3 or 4 nights a week to learn to get good with women. That's just too much. It's not fair. We're not extroverts here. To which I'll say this, I know why you're saying that, but it's a terrible attitude to have. Think about business, right? No one alive, I never said I'm built for working 70 hours a week. That's what I'm built for. I'm one of those people. No, nobody is one of those people. No one. And yet, to build a business that's successful, to be an entrepreneur, you're going to have to go through this phase of your life where you're working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, every week for a couple of years, building something really amazing, if that's what you want. No one's built for it. You just have to do it. You just go, you know what? I want this result. This is the crazy outcome I want. This is the work that I'm going to put in. Now, the other thing I want to say about going to all these events is that you do not underestimate the power of networks. Once you have a network of people, like you're just going out all the time meeting people, you will feel a very powerful impact. That will be in your career. It'll be in like events that you get to, opportunities that come up, both career, educational, social, spiritual, if that's your angle. You'll get a massive number of opportunities because the huge size of this network that you're creating for yourself. This won't just impact your dating life. It will radically change, the trajectory of your life, just having that big network around you. Now, the fourth thing that I do, and I would decide to do this once I'm consistently going out and my basic social skills are really decent. I can go out, be likable, people are enjoying being around me. I get into the zone with people easily enough. I can start conversations with strangers easily enough without being awkward. Once I'm there, usually 1 month, a few months in, sometimes a little bit more. But once I'm at that point, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe drop the number of these like networking social hobby events that I go to maybe 1 night a week. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to research my area, and I'm going to join a couple of improv comedy classes. Now, ideally, what I'm going to be doing is like, say, 2 improv comedy classes per week. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to really work on my ability to banter and have fun and be funny as a human being, right? A lot of guys really, really struggle with this skill. And if you go 2 nights a week to improv comedy, so you're practicing, and then you go to a social event again and you practice being humorous, practice joking, practice bantering, that's going to really hone that skill for you, because it's a critical skill with women. If you can make them laugh, it's the easiest way in. It's also going to rapidly improve the rate at which people like you. So it's going to increase your likability skills, your social likability skills. Now, the next step I'd take before I went any further is I would see a stylist. And I would want to know, okay, what type of clothing is going to make me look the best? I want to maximize my looks. So I would go to a stylist, I'd pony up the $500-600, and I would look at, okay, what hairstyles are going to work for me? What type of grooming with my face is going to work the best? What type of clothing is going to work the best in different environments? And I'd really get that down pat so that I maximize my looks before I go into the next stage, because I just want to make life as easy as humanly possible for myself. Now, if you've been doing that for a little while, that brings us on to the 5th step. Now, it's at this point that I think your choices and my choices may change. I'm going to tell you what I would do and why, and So the obvious thing here is to think about this. At this point, you're the kind of guy who is so used to having conversations with strangers. You can easily chat about different topics. You're funny. You're likable. You can get in there easily. The small talk is simple for you. Building connections with strangers is a relatively easy thing. You've done it more times than you care to count. How easy would it be now to walk into a bar or go to a party and talk to a girl you've never met before? I mean, the question of what do I say, how do I get her to, talk to me, that's not really a thing, right? You can get girls to talk to you. You know how to be funny. You know how to banter. You know how to talk. You know how to be likable. Hell, you've got most of the skills you need. In fact, if I didn't teach you anything more, if you didn't learn any more dating skills, you'd still get dates with just those skills. It wouldn't be so hard to approach, would it? Because you're used to talking to strangers. So a lot of guys would think, well, Damien's probably now going to go out and start cold approaching. And I may do some, but that's not really the step that I would take now. What I would do is I would start to go 2 nights a week to Latin dance classes and 1 night a week to social Latin dancing. Now, there's a couple of reasons I do this. First of all, I want to build a community. I want to have a lifestyle where meeting new women is effortless. I don't want to have to constantly push myself to approach. The dating landscape is changing. People are starting to become more judgmental of people randomly cold approaching and, all this kind of stuff. I'm a little wary of where the world's going with that. We don't know where it's going to head. So I'll join a community where there are going to be constantly new women joining, most of whom are single, where there's a skill that I can learn so that I can be recognized as someone who has this skill, right? That builds my value within that social network. So I'm going to go to these Latin dance classes 2 nights a week, 1 night social dancing, and I'm going to network like a fiend. I'm going to talk to every guy. I'm going to talk to every girl. I'm going to get to know everyone within my, community. And the reason I'm going to do this is a couple of things. One, this is now going to become my community. This is going to become my social network from which I'm going to date. There's constant new people coming in. And what happens is when you do this in a community like Latin dancing, it's not just the Latin dance events. People will start to invite you to birthday parties, housewarming parties, barbecues on the beach. I mean, I only did it for like 4 months here in Australia, in the Gold Coast. And I was every 2 weeks, there was at least one event I was getting invited to. And I hadn't massively networked out, and this was in a small city. So all of a sudden, I'm meeting women all the time. I have a skill that women like doing. I don't have to cold approach. The Latin dance community is about, hey, do you want to dance? And they almost always say yes. It doesn't have to be a flirting pickup thing. But remember, you're funny, you're likable, you know how to chat, right? You're engaging as a person. So making the step from there to dating, women are just organically going to want to date you because of the environment you're meeting them. And it would be effortless. I wouldn't have to try to meet new women. I'd just be meeting them consistently with no effort whatsoever. And that'd be my lifestyle, my social network taken care of. And these are exactly the 6 steps that I would take if I started all over again and want to get my success back as quickly as humanly possible. If I found myself in one of 2 positions, if I found myself in the position of starting to cold approach right? And I didn't do the salsa option. I just went cold approaching in step 6, and I was struggling to get results. I'd get a coach. If I would definitely get a coach to help me out, because I don't want to waste any more time. It's the speed of results to pay off is definitely there with coaching, especially when you're at that kind of level. The other situation is if I was going to the salsa dancing or the bachata dancing, any Latin styles, and I was making lots of friends, but no women seemed to want to date me, I would engage with a dating coach, because these are the kind of problems that we can fix so quickly for you. It's a relatively easy switch to make, especially when you already have those social skills under your belt. Now, I know some of you guys are going to say to me, because I've read it, it's kind of a very black pill almost, but it's kind of one of these thoughts, this defeatist attitude of, why should a man have to do all this work just to meet women? I'll tell you why. Because it's something every man wants. And if you want something that everybody wants, you got to do more work than everybody else. That's how you get those results. It doesn't matter if it's in business. It doesn't matter if it's in dating, right? If you say, I don't want to do it, it's too much work, I shouldn't have to. Fine, don't. But also don't complain about not dating. Like, seriously, it's the nature of dating right now. The work has to be put in to get what you want. And so if you don't put in the work, cool. Be alone, be lonely. I'm going to head out with my friends who have all put in the work, and we're going to go and date and have fun and have a great social life. And I don't mean to be callous about it, but there is too much of this idea of, I don't want to do this work to meet women. But it's never just about women. If you think about all these skills you learn, you think about your life, your career, and you think about, who's going to get the promotion at work? Okay, because lots of people work hard. Just working hard is often not enough. The guy who's likable, who knows everyone, who everyone gets along with and is funny in the office, or the guy who is kind of shy and quiet and people don't really know that well? Who is going to get the job when they go for a job interview? Okay, the guy who isn't really great at speaking for himself, or the guy who's funny and fun and good to talk to and gets along with people? Who is going to get the investors on board? Okay, the guy who connects with people and it makes them feel trust really quickly and connects. I know that's not the only thing people invest in. I know that's not the only reason people get hired. But you've got to remember, it's all things being equal, because in the business world, there's lots of capable people that you're competing against. And when that's it, we tend to choose based on who do we like, who feels like a good fit for the environment, or who's a good energy that we want in this office space. These things are all equally important as well, right? You've got this quiet, awkward guy in the wrong position. He may have the skills, but he's the wrong person for that role. So who gets that grant? Who gets it right? It's constantly. This ability to be likable and connect with people quickly will impact every single part of your life. And on top of that, guys, dating the wrong woman will destroy your life. Like, seriously, your quality of life, the quality of your life will be massively dependent on the woman you decide to date. And I'm not saying how hot she is. I'm saying how good a woman she is, how good she's going to take care of you, right? And if you are not in a position to be a chooser because you're in a position where you're a beggar and you'll take what you can get, you're far more likely to end up in a lot of these really horrible relationship situations. And I don't know. I don't think it's a waste of time. I think if this takes you 12 months, 18 months to get this skill, if I lost it today and I was single, I'm in a relationship now, but if I lost it today, I'm 41 years old, I'd straight away, okay, by the time I'm 42, I'm good to go. So guys, I hope this has been interesting. I think a lot of these steps that I would have taken are probably surprising to you. It's a very different journey to the one I took originally. But for me, I know in my clients, this would be the absolute fastest way to do it in 2025. So let me know your thoughts. As always, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you in my future videos.